Now, there are still questions about what the U.S. involvement would look like there, and there's been a lot of talk about the U.S. using those bunkerbuster bombs. Questions still remaining overall about exactly what they are and what they do. So I do want to bring in Ryan Brobst, the Deputy Director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy Center on Military and Political Power. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and help to break it all down. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so first off, we've talked about this a lot over the past several days, but for folks who are maybe just hearing about this for the first time, can you explain exactly what these bunker buster bombs really are and how they work?
Absolutely. So bunker busters are a special type of bomb that's dropped by military aircraft, and they're designed to hit targets that are hardened, meaning they're made of reinforced concrete, other tough materials, or deeply buried targets so that they're deep underground, or in the case of Iran's Fordo enrichment facility, both. It's a common misconception that these weapons rely on using lots of explosives to get to their target, but actually what they use is hardened steel cases to burrow into the ground. So think more like a drill rather than excavating with explosives. In the case of the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or MOP, which is necessary to hit Fordo, it's a 30,000-pound weapon, and it can only be dropped from the B-2 stealth bomber.
Does the U.S. have a lot of these? Are they used frequently? Can you kind of break that down for me?
Absolutely. So what we do know is that as of 2015, the manufacturer had delivered at least 20 of the weapons, and there is some reporting from 2024 that a facility was expanded to increase production, but we don't know the exact number that we have. I would say, however, we don't have a lot of them relative to other types of bombs, which we sometimes have thousands of. The MOP has never been used in combat, but it has been tested on ranges. So we likely know that it works, but it's a little difficult to say how exactly it would perform against specific targets.
And that was going to be my next question here is, would they be effective? Do we really know that? It sounds as though there's a lot of maybe questions overall.
Yeah, so there is reporting that the White House was heavily debating whether or not these weapons would work. We know they work to some extent, and what might happen is that there would have to be multiple rounds of strikes on the same target. You can think of burrowing deeper each time, potentially with the use of other munitions as well. We know that the Pentagon has been preparing for this mission for several years, so they're well aware of the risks. So it's likely that these weapons would work, but there is at least a little uncertainty there.
And I have to ask, what are possibly some of the ramifications, maybe collateral damage and things of that nature? You kind of touched on that a little bit, but can you explain what could be maybe some of the downside?
Yeah, so as far as collateral damage, it's likely very low just because these weapons are exploding so far underground and because the targets they would be used by are not near civilians. Fordo is 20 miles away from the nearest city under a mountain. Worst case scenario, some very small amounts of radiation might leak, but this is not going to be anywhere near a Chernobyl level incident or anything like that. So this is actually, I'd say, relatively safe as compared with other operations that are targeting military targets that are located in cities.
Is there any kind of evidence as of now that these bunker busters have been moved over toward Iran? Any evidence, or is that also something maybe we're just not clear on?
So the interesting thing here is that the Pentagon wouldn't actually need to move them near Iran. That's because our B-2 bombers operate out of Whiteman Air Force Base, which is in Missouri. And with aerial refueling, they can strike targets anywhere in the world. For example, the B-2s conducted strikes in Yemen from Whiteman Air Force Base in 2024, which was widely seen as a message to Iran. So the Pentagon probably wouldn't actually move the bunker busters near Iran.
All right, Ryan, thank you again for taking the time to join us here and help describe that a little bit further. Again, we're going to hear that term a lot as we have over the past several days, likely over the next several days and weeks, as we wait to see what President Trump does decide. Is there anything else that you want to add at all before I let you go here?
Yeah, so perhaps the most major risk of using these is Iranian retaliation against U.S. targets. So if the White House does proceed with this, it's very important that we have enough air defenses in the troops to protect, or enough air defenses in the area to protect our troops and our diplomatic facilities. And that should be a high priority in the next 2 weeks ahead.
All right, Ryan there with the Foundation for Defensive Democracies. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.